This is where business ideas and passions turn into profit. Whether you're dreaming of becoming your own boss but don't know how to get started, or have already started a side hustle and wish to grow it exponentially, your host, Victoria Wieck, can help you turn your passion-based business ideas into profit. Welcome to Million Dollar Passion. Here is your host, world-renowned jewelry designer and home shopping TV celebrity, Victoria Wieck.
Welcome to another episode of the Million Dollar Hobbies. I'm so delighted this morning because some of the questions I've always had and struggled with in my entrepreneurship journey has to do with protecting my ideas, my business, all of what we call the intellectual property. I know that sounds like a really scary term, but it's not. And I have the perfect guest who can actually kind of unravel all of that, unlock the secrets to, making sure that your hard work actually is protected. Today I have Richard and Elizabeth. They're a married couple. They have been married for 26 years, and that already tells you something, right? These people are saints, other than being super smart people. Richard is a patent attorney, very respected patent attorney, and his wife, Elizabeth, is the chief marketing officer, and she does a lot of things behind the scenes to help their clients, Richard's clients as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce Richard and Elizabeth. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria.
Yeah. So now you founded your law firm 15 years ago. And so did you work for other people, or you just got out of school and founded it, or how did it happen?
No.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's really, I worked in big corporations. I was the head of intellectual property for Novartis, and I just didn't like the corporate lifestyle. And I got some great training. I worked with some good people, but I also didn't want to spend my entire career working for somebody else. And so a break in the action happened at Novartis. Elizabeth said, "Why don't you go out and start your own law firm?" And I thought she was nuts, but it turned out that it was the best decision I ever made in my life. And I've been having a blast ever since then. So that's kind of my story. My goal now is to help other people escape from jobs that they don't like and start their own businesses.
And I stupidly said, "I'll do whatever you need me to do to make your firm successful."
I took full advantage of that.
Right. Okay. First of all, I know all of you probably heard a lot of different things in that just very short intro that Richard just gave. But what I got out of it is that behind every successful man, there's a woman kicking his ass. So that was Elizabeth in this case. So you worked in corporate and you didn't love the lifestyle, and you felt that you could impact more people more directly by going on your own. And it took Elizabeth to convince you to do that.
Yeah, oh, totally. I mean, I had never really thought of being an entrepreneur. I had kind of grown up in this world. I'm 60 years old. And when I was growing up, the way somebody became successful was to claw their way to the top of a corporation, which I did. But by the same token, that came with a lot of stress and a lot of personal ethical compromises that made my life less fulfilling. And I think Elizabeth thought that if I started my own law firm, I could be more my own person. I would be easier to be around because, let's face it, you carry that stress with you wherever you go.
Right.
And so, and she didn't want to move the kids again. So if I took another corporate job, I'd end up in some other part of the country, and we just didn't want to move the family again. So, that's really kind of what was behind it. But she always said she knew I would never fail because she knew that I was driven and determined. Having a family to support was really is a lot of responsibility.
Right. And I want to say that it felt like a huge risk. We were in our 40s. But if you work at a corporation, by the time you're in your mid 50s, you are at a huge risk of losing your job. And so starting your own thing in your 40s so that you have something when you're in your 50s, I think it was really important for us. I feel like it was almost less of a risk to start his own thing than to try to stay in corporate.
I completely agree with you. Now, those of you who might wonder about this, I completely agree with you on everything you said so far about, the risk of actually, sometimes we think it's safer to stay in a corporation, but in my experience, taking what you think is, not ever taking a risk and taking the safe route actually could be the most dangerous thing. So I like that. Now, you did more than just practice law. You are now, since you opened your law firm, you are helping people deal with intellectual property, which I will get to in just a second, because I'm really, I think it's really important for people to understand all the different parts of intellectual property, which I don't understand very well. So, I have you here. But also what I want to say is, which, it's one of the few law firms. I deal with a lot of attorneys, because I have a lot of intellectual property to protect. You're one of the few law firms that actually helps your clients succeed. You have a radio show called Passage to Profit, which I've actually been on a guest. And then you also have another show called Fireside, where your clients can come on the show, promote their products, and you just really kind of, highlight what they do to help their clients, which, makes the world a beautiful place. So, and I thank you for that. And so you might want to check out Passage to Profit, which is on iHeartRadio, and gearhartlaw.com. If you're an entrepreneur, you definitely want to check them out, because even if you don't think you have anything worth protecting, there are just so many things that they're doing to help everybody that I think is worth checking out. Now, let's dive right into the intellectual property itself. So just quickly, and this question is directed at you, the attorney, Richard, how would you define intellectual property? Because a lot of people, that's like a very vague and scary term.
So intellectual property is really the law of ideas. And so just like you would have a deed to your house, you can also, and that defines the ownership of the land and the house. You can also have ownership of ideas. And so intellectual property is the ownership of ideas. In the legal world, they refer to ownership of property as real property. In the legal world, we refer to the ownership of ideas as intellectual property. And there's 4 different basic types of intellectual property. There's patents, trademarks, copyrights, and trade secrets. And so patents protect ideas and technology related to technology. They protect inventions. So if it's a new mousetrap, or it's a new car tire, or it's a new tangible thing, and that technology is protected with a patent. Trademarks protect names, business names, and that they call them source identifiers, which may sound a little confusing, but the point is that they exist so that when you go to buy a bottle of Coca-Cola, for example, you know that bottle of cola was made by the Coca-Cola bottling company, right? So when trademarks serve to identify the source of the goods so that it has a certain quality or characteristic, right? The third category are copyrights, and copyrights protect original works of expression. So music, art, sculpture, architectural drawings, literature, all of those movies, all of those things are protected by copyrights. And the fourth category are trade secrets. And trade secrets are secrets that a company has that gives them a competitive advantage. So it's information that's kept secret within the company. So lots of times you may see things like documents marked confidential or whatever. And you can protect the confidential information of the company through trade secrets. So those are the 4 types of intellectual property.
So for small business entrepreneurs, this is a lot of information you just unpacked. And thank you so much for doing that. So now we know, for example, if you invented something, because, a lot of times I'll go, have lunch with somebody, or, I'll give a speech, and people would come up to me afterwards and they'll ask me things like, oh, I want to apply for a new patent on my new whatever. And that, do you know an attorney? And with the limited knowledge I have about patent law, I knew like right away that a lot of things that they're talking about are actually more copyrights and not, patents type thing. So, it's kind of interesting that, it's patents had to do with primarily new inventions or a new way of, doing something or making something, right? So that's really interesting. Now, how expensive is it to, I know when you said copyrights actually protect original works of art, such as like sculptures, music, I guess I copyrighted both of my books,
Right.
and
Sure.
a lot of my design work for my jewelry designs. But so copyrights are not that expensive. It's something that can be done easily. But I would assume that trademarks and patents can run up to quite a bit of money. Do you have any idea? I also understand that it has to do with the complexity of the project and whether or not you get into, I guess, some pushback by other competitors.
Well, there's a lot of considerations. So, for example, at Gerhardt Law, we charge flat fees for everything, and it's a pay-as-you-go service. And so, a utility patent is a patent that protects a concept. So, for example, if you were to want to patent a desk, for example, you would patent the concept of a desk, right? So you would have different size tabletop, you would have drawers, no drawers, different materials, plastic, glass, wood, L-shaped top, oval top. So the idea is to protect as many variations on the concept as you can. There's another type of patent that's called a design patent, where you only protect exactly what is shown in the drawing. So it's a very specific embodiment, a very specific view. It's almost like taking a photograph and sending it into the patent office. So those two different types of patents have different levels of protection, and they have different costs associated with them. So the utility patent, for example, might cost $15,000 to $20,000 from start to finish, spread out over 3 or 4 years. The design patent might cost between $2,000 and $3,000 from start to finish, including all costs. And there are advantages and disadvantages to both, and that's why you need to contact a professional who can kind of discuss it with you and recommend the best protection for your project.
So if if you're starting out an entrepreneurship journey and you had a new business idea, okay, at what point do you think that they should be looking for intellectual property protection of any kind? Because some things I have, I don't have that with me, but I guess created I don't want to say the word invent just because there'll be a lot of other people after the same thing, but I have a way you can decorate an iWatch and Apple iWatch case, and it actually is a lot. You find a lot of phone cases, but you don't find a lot of iWatch cases, because every time you put like what do you call it, like a metal around the piece where you can put jewelry pieces, it will negate your Bluetooth, all the functions.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So you have to actually get around the metal piece of it and all that. So I designed it. So in that case, I have a design patent, I have a utility patent pending, and then I have trademarks for that particular brand and copyright for the design. So, I just kind of believe in the product, and I went after all of that. So I assume that some things you can get all of them, like copyright, design.
Sure.
So what for an entrepreneur who doesn't have a lot of money and they don't know if it's going to be marketable or not, what would you suggest that they actually start with?
Well, the first thing they should start with is a discussion with an intellectual property professional. But after that, usually what we do is a search, right? We want to find out if there are other things out there that are similar to your invention. And that's very important, both from a patent and a trademark perspective, because somebody else might have a patent that could block you.
Right.
And so you want to find that out as soon as possible, because then your options are either to change your design to avoid the other person's patent, or get a license from that person, which may be attainable, it may not. But you need to do a search, and you need to see what other intellectual property is owned by others. And for us, about a third of the projects that we research, we have to tell the client, look, if there's something out there that's too close,
Similar.
can't move forward with this because you're going to get in trouble from some other company, right? So, but assuming that you get past the search phase, then you have to decide, well, when is the project mature enough that it makes sense to invest in the intellectual property? And that's, it's an art. It's not necessarily a science. But once you understand what your budget is, what you understand what all your costs are for moving the project forward, and then having at least a little sense of what the total sales potential is, you can then make decisions about the intellectual property. So for example, if you're selling a niche product and you think that the value of the sales is going to only be $250,000 to $300,000 a year, then maybe spending the money on the patent is, that's more questionable. If you're looking for larger sales volumes, then investing in a patent may make more sense. And you have to remember that the value of the patent is not only running out and suing somebody if they copy your idea. That's what people think. But the value of the patent is also, it puts other people on notice. So other people who are having searches done find your patent, and that discourages them from entering the market. And even if it's only for 6 months, if you have $100,000 a month in sales and you invest $20,000 a month in your patent, and that 6 months keep you dominant in the market for 6 months, you earn extra sales based on you might earn $500,000 worth of sales based on a $20,000 investment. So it's not that you would necessarily even sue them, but you actually keep the competition at bay. And that's one of the values of intellectual property that people don't often realize. So.
Well, can I just say something quickly? So
Absolutely.
I have my startup called Fireside Directory, and I have a logo. The first thing I did was have one of our attorneys at Gearhart Law do a trademark search on Fireside Directory. And they didn't just look for the exact words, they looked at things that would be close in the category I'm using it in, and it was clear. So I started using it. And with trademarks, you get some protection from when you start using them, but we have filed for trademark protection. Now, I've learned that a very famous person is going to use Fireside for something kind of similar. So this ought to be pretty interesting. But over the year, I've been working on this and having Richard help me together. The two of us have brainstormed a lot of ideas that are patentable. And I haven't told anybody what they are. So I'm a patent agent. I'm almost done drafting that patent, and I'll have one of our experts at Gearhart Law finish it for me because I haven't done a patent for a long time. But I think that if your service business, especially, a trademark can be important. We have a client now that's in litigation for millions of dollars over a trademark.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on, I think that intellectual property is something that if we could afford it in an ideal world, you want to all have that. It's just that it's, a lot of times it's not like Richard just explained, that it's a ROI, it's a return on your investment in some cases. And beginning entrepreneurs don't know in the beginning, what's possible and all that. So that leads me to my next question, which is directed to you, Elizabeth. I know that you are very sort of like a more of a driving force behind Passage to Profit, and I find that to be very fascinating because you're not just doing just law. You're actually helping your clients get more traction, get more clarity, which actually might even help the intellectual property part of that too, because you're using it more. It's more out there. It's more of a deterrent. So how did you conceive that show, and what's your goal there in terms, what's your, like, if you had, what's your home run situation with that show?
So that's a great question. There was somebody we networked with in New York named Kenya Gibson with iHeart, and she broached the show to me over champagne in New York. And
got her a little tipsy first, and
I brought the idea home to Richard, and had been on radio before, and he liked it. And we got a lot of pushback from a lot of people we knew who said it was not the best way to spend money, not a good idea. And we wanted to do it anyway. And so we felt like it was a real place for us to showcase our clients. And we have a whole social media effort around it. And we just felt like it was a way to really push positive and negative experiences, because we do ask people their challenges about entrepreneurism out into the world. So the normal person listening could kind of understand what they might have to go through if they decided to start a business. So our goal is to help as many people succeed using whatever they can from Gerhardt Law, but also using the promotion and the advice they get from people like you on our radio show.
Well, that's really great, because I know that, I was a guest on the show, and the first thing I noticed is how authentic you two are, just as people. You take all the attorney, the law firm, the chief marketing officer hat off, and it's a lot of fun, but you are also providing some serious content, around that. And I also love what you said, which is not only success stories, but I'm a firm believer that we learn so much more from failures, especially the ones that, like you almost make it. My kids played competitive tennis, USTA national level tennis. And a lot of those close matches, you lose over like 5 or 6 points. It comes down to those, how those kids play those critical moments, the critical points. And when you win over somebody, 6-0, 6-0, you don't learn much. You hardly get an exercise. But when you, have add deuce forever, and then you finally lose it, those are the things that really shape you. And so I feel like, bringing guests on where they're talking about, their challenges in the past and current, because you will always have challenges when you're in business, as you might know. Mm-hmm. I think that's doing a lot of service. And I just really commend you for doing that, because being married to a top-notch attorney, you could just stay at home and keep on drinking champagne all day long.
Well, we do drink champagne. It's just after we get back from work at the end of the day. So
sometimes,
I think, what are you, stupid? Why are you doing all that? I don't know.
Why not have champagne? Do we have any around here right now? I could use I'm thirsty.
No, but I actually think that's really great. And, I want to, be a part of that. I was glad that you, invited me to your show. And, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. In fact, I am the co-director of the Global Society of Female Entrepreneurs. And that's why I invited you to my show, because the one thing I do get a lot is the surrounding the patent law, the intellectual property law. And so I think that's really great. And, but you guys kind of really, I wish I had found you 10, 15 years ago, because I've had my battles with my, a lot, because almost every one of my designs is original designs. And, there are something like 70,000 people out there in the world making money off of my designs. They're like knocking it off here and there. And like Richard said earlier, it's not only about suing people, but it actually will deter some of the bigger companies from knocking you off. Like if you are a little mom and pop in China and you don't understand the law yourself and you can just knock my designs off, they're not going to have that much of an impact. Whereas if a major company did that, they'll do a search like, we're doing a search, and it deters them. So, it's there. But I just like I said, your practice and Elizabeth, your force behind, marketing your services and also helping your entrepreneur clients to market their services. And I think that's an exceptional, above and beyond. And I just wanted to thank you for doing that. Anything else you want to that I didn't cover about intellectual property? Because I know that's a thing so you can probably talk about for the next year. And so, I don't have the year.
And I have a whole year ahead of me if you'd like to. But I would say one other thing is that make sure you get confidentiality agreements.
Oh, that's true.
With the people that you talk with. And there's legal reasons for doing that. And then there's also other reasons, the business relationship reasons. But before you spill the beans about your project, you need to make sure that you have a non-disclosure agreement or confidentiality agreement, something in place to make sure that they don't run off with it. And if so, and it happens. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients say to me that they went and they talked to somebody and they said, well, did you file a patent? No. Did you have a confidentiality agreement? No. Well, there's not much I can do to protect your interests if you don't have that agreement.
But the other thing too is that you lose your rights in Europe if you tell somebody your whole idea without a confidentiality agreement.
Right.
And I'm so glad you both mentioned this because the one thing I do is I get approached a lot because, I've been on TV for 24 years and, have done quite a bit of business myself and I have incredible contacts. I mean, every single CEO that went through HSN since 1998, I've been personal friends with. So many people want to tell me their idea. They'll say, oh, I have the great idea. I haven't told anyone. I just tell them, stop. Don't tell me anything because I don't want to know. I don't want to be at the receiving end of a lawsuit if you tell me something and you tell 6 other people and somehow that product gets on the market. And that has happened to me many times where I would tell somebody, go get your intellectual property secured before you talk to me.
Right.
Because I don't want to know anything about it, especially if they're jewelers. I don't want to know because I may be working on the same thing and we're all on the same journey. So sometimes as a receiver of information, you also have to protect your rights.
That's very true. And
because if you have contacts, I had my children's SAT coach, like she used to, whenever it was like a holiday or something, she would give us boxes of cookies. And the women didn't know how to bake, but she knew how to decorate them. And she asked me to, and it's a really cool, the way she does this, it's really cool. And she basically, it's just sugar and water. And she has a way of doing that. And she wanted me to, help her get on QVC or whatever. And I said, you know what, I don't want to know how you do it. Because to me, it seems she told me it was sugar and water. That's all that was. And I just told her, I don't want to know anything about it. Get your intellectual property secured. I don't want to sign an NDA because I don't know what I'm signing off. But until you get that signed, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear it. Well, that product was on HSN like 3 months later. Yeah. And I can tell you by the time HSN gets something like that on, it's usually a year. I mean, it takes you like 6 months to get a vendor number. So whoever was doing it at the other end probably had it already, meaning that there's multiple people that are doing that. It's a machine. There's other people invented a machine. There was all this other stuff. But sometimes I think non-disclosure agreements are kind of first step. I forgot to kind of mention that, but that's like a first step. Now, lastly, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to challenge you guys. And I've never done this before to anybody, but you guys just seem so down to earth. I'm going to do it anyway.
I find that hard to believe, but challenge away.
Yeah. Well, I would challenge people, but I haven't done it live on air.
Okay.
We're ready for anything.
We're ready.
Yeah. And Elizabeth seems like she's ready for a battle. So she's battle tested. Have you ever thought about just giving like a free webinar or a seminar? This is what I do on my show. What I do is I take I think there's 6 different key factors that I felt like I needed, that every entrepreneur needs to master before they can build a business empire. So I went from 0 to $500 million and with no advertising. So basically storytelling is one of them. There's like 6 key pillars that you really do have to master to be able to do this as an entrepreneur with no money. And what I do is I take one topic once a month, because we're all busy. Like we don't have time to do endless free webinars. So I'll do like storytelling mastery, and I'll limit it to like 50 people, where I'll do a free webinar, 45 minutes. Next month, I might be doing, how to build a proper website, because a lot of people their websites are there, but a proper website will generate money for you no matter what you're doing 24/7. And then the next month I'll do. So I'm repeating storytelling like once every 6 months, but they're getting, obviously if you're doing intellectual law, you're not going to be able to help them with everything you do, but there's a lot of information there that they're going to get for free. So have you thought about doing something like that? Or would you consider doing something like that?
No, of course not. We make a lot of our team members give many presentations to a wide variety of sources, and we're always open to helping any group that would like to receive that information. So we presented in inventors associations, we present, we don't necessarily set up the webinars, but we have, for example, meetup groups with probably close to 5,000 meetup people and members, and we give seminars weekly, or not weekly, monthly for
That's
those.
Good.
And we get good attendance. I love speaking about intellectual property, and so I'm happy to do it anytime, and I never charge for my time to do it. So
yeah, that sounds great. So if people wanted to connect with you for those, they still go to gearhartlaw.com.
I believe that we have the links there. We'll make sure that they're there. Let's say that.
Meetup, so you'd have to join one of the meetups.
You'd have to join one of the meetups. We're rebranding the meetups because it used to be a global intellectual property business meetup, but now we're gearing it more towards general innovation and having different topics. So we'll have the name of the new branded meetup on our website. That's a great idea.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thank you so much for coming. And it's been so delightful having the two of you there. And you guys are trailblazers, because I don't normally interview two people at the same time.
We're a package deal.
In fact, you're the first one, because it's really hard to interview more than one person at a time, because when especially topics like yours, which is very focused topic. So so you broke new ground there. See?
Well, thank you, Victoria. We look forward to having you on Passage to Profit again, too.
Yeah. So listen, everybody, go to Gearhart Law. You'd be literally absolutely amazed at the type of clients they've had so far. They're really passionate about helping entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs. Even your small entrepreneurs are not that small. A lot of them are actually the household brands that you'll recognize. They're very humble people here. But you'll find, incredible, just amazing diversity of the types of, clients you've helped. You've got food, pharmaceuticals to, small service businesses, you name it. Whatever your challenges are, connect with them. You'll get free information. Quite a bit of it will be free before you spend the money. I guess that's a really great thing. And secondly, they're probably the most down to earth, like real approachable lawyers. Because when I think about lawyers and doctors, they're kind of very scary, because you're like, what's wrong? I always think twice about, like, whenever I have to go to a doctor, because I know so many people at my age group that they'll go for a routine checkup, and they'll go, oh, you have prostate cancer, or whatever. So and don't worry, it's the beginning stages, just something like that. But whenever I get a call from one of my lawyers, same thing. It's like, oh, are we getting sued or something? We haven't been sued, by the way, ever.
Good.
Which is a good.
You have good lawyers then, right?
Yeah, great lawyers. It cost me a fortune, but I've sent all of their kids to college. I've sent all of their kids great education.
I was trying to talk a client out of filing a lawsuit the other day, just because I thought it'd be a waste of money. But I've said, well, I need a new patio. So if you want to go ahead and go forward with it, that's your problem. But at least you can come and join me for a drink on the patio when it's all over.
So listen, thank you so much for coming, and go to gearhart.com, gearhartlaw.com. It's like gear, GEARHART law.com. And then you can always check out Passage to Profit podcast on iHeartRadio. Thank you so much for coming, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to my show. And don't forget to subscribe and rate and review the show. And thank you, Richard and Elizabeth, for coming to the, making time this morning. And I'll talk to you soon. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to $1 Million Passion, where we turn dreams into reality and passion into profit. According to ancient Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Congratulations on taking that first step today. For more information on how Victoria can help you turn your business idea into $1 million and to download Victoria's free ebook on passion-based business ideas, visit $1,000,000passion.com. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast player.